Now we're going to get started on assembling everything back onto the new Gspeed chassis. And I'm going to start first with the transmission. Welcome to Pixel Hobbies. I have here the Gspeed V3 chassis in G10 material that will be used for the LCG build using the Element RC Enduro, which should take my Element Enduro to a whole new level of performance. Here's the Element Enduro that will be used for the conversion. I'll be reusing most of the stock components such as the stock axles, Stealth X transmission, drive shafts, shocks, and the upgraded components such as the high clearance links and all the brass bits that I have on it. Here's the Gspeed chassis with the parts needed for the LCG conversion. You need a chassis either in G10 or carbon fiber. For my build, I'll be using the V3 chassis in G10 material. G10 material is a high pressure composite fiberglass and it's supposed to be super strong. Although it is a bit flexier and heavier than the carbon fiber, it is cheaper and it will do well for my heavier build. You will also need the recently released multi-platform PANHARD mount in metal, the Delrin skid plate, the chassis spacers, and the electronics tray sliders. Although you can use the stock servo mount, it requires some tweaking to make it work. So I'll be also using the Team Garage Hacks dual servo mount. So let's start taking Element Enduro apart and see what can be bolted in today. Here's my pile. The Element Enduro came apart pretty easily. Now we're going to get started on assembling everything back onto the new Gspeed chassis. And I'm going to start first with the transmission. Since the Delrin skid plate is flat and thicker than the Enduro skid plate, the stock 12mm and 8mm flathead cap screws won't work. You'll need 4 of the 16mm flathead cap screws to mount this transmission. Next, I'm going to install the servo. You want to install the servo from the top of the DSM. Next, I'm going to tackle the rear axle and the links. I suggest installing the upper links first, and you'll need a longer 14mm screws and a 3mm hex nut. Most folks are installing the upper link on the top row, second from the transmission. So I'm going to start there as well. Before I install the low link, I'm going to connect drive shaft. As for the drive shaft, make sure that it is in phase. Now I will install the rear shocks. In order to install the shocks, you'll need a 20mm length, and I'm actually using a 4mm spacer. And here we have the rear installed. Now we will install the front axle and the links. Once again, you want to start with the upper link. In the front, there's only one upper link, and you'll use a 20mm length screw. After the upper link, install the drive shaft. Once again, make sure that it is in phase. Next, we're going to install the PANHARD link. The multi-platform PANHARD mount is recessed and flush with the chassis rail, so we need to add a bit of spacer. I'll be using a 60mm spacer to help clear the steering servo arm. Additionally, you want to install the PANHARD link to the hole in the middle away from the chassis rail, which is designed for Enduro. I'll be using a 20mm screw to ensure that I have enough of thread, and make sure to put some blue Loctite. Lastly, I'm going to install the steering link. I'm going to power up the ESC to reset the steering servo arm to neutral position. Then use the 60mm length screw with 4mm spacer to install the steering link. And make sure to add a bit of blue Loctite as well. Now we have everything installed in the front. Here's the Element Enduro installed onto a Gspeed V3 chassis in G10 material. It's pretty much done. Steering is working, and there's no binding. Forward, reverse. I just need to finish fine-tuning it and tidy up the electronics and the cable, and figure out which body I'm going to use. Altogether, it was pretty straightforward install. The transmission and motor went in easily. The axles, links, shocks, and drive shaft were pretty much a bolt-on. The only thing that really took time was figuring out the length of the screws and the spacers to use. I was also trying to figure out if I can reuse the stock Shorty battery tray, but I'll need to drill 4 holes to the chassis, 2 holes on each side. Since I plan to use a smaller 1500 mAh 3S battery, I decided against drilling the holes and instead used the electronics tray to mount the battery using Velcro. I can't wait to fine-tune it, tidy it up, and take it out for the test run. Please like and subscribe, and make sure to hit the notification bell so that you can be notified when new videos are uploaded. Thanks for watching Big Song Hobbies.